Hey, Brent Porcio, TopVelocity.net. Welcome to another pitching lab. If you didn't see the last episode, check it out. That was the first one of this series. I'm taking video and breaking it down. Anyone who wants to send in video, please send it to info@topvelocity.net. I'll break it down for you in the show. You know, it's exciting because when you look through anyone's video and you go through these key checkpoints that follow biomechanical principles, you can learn from everybody. Elite pitchers can learn from novice pitchers and vice versa. It's because we're all trying to do the same thing. We're just doing it with different body types, which is exciting because sometimes it becomes more obvious with certain body types and you can really learn from that. And then when you go and apply it to yourself, it's more clear to you and you can better improve your mechanics. So, you know, this is for everyone to watch and I hope everybody enjoys it. I'm going to go through these core biomechanical principles. Yeah, you're going to see big league pitchers apply this. And you're going to see similar issues. You're going to see similar issues at a high level. A lot of what puts guys at a very high level is their athletic ability. And that's something you got to understand here. So a lot of the failures you see in these young pitchers and these amateur pitchers, it's because physically they're struggling and their body's overcompensating for those weaknesses. So we're going to talk a little bit about the work behind this. But the work you have to do with your body is really key to creating the blueprint. This is the blueprint. This is the output. This is like the printer. You know, you hit print. You built the printer, you put the ink in, you built the machine, and then now you want to put it to use. That's the same thing that's going on here. So let's take Chris here out of leg lift. Okay. I'm going to try to stop it. Yeah, right there, right where he's going straight down. Okay. So he's kind of crouching down. You don't want to do that. You don't want to crouch down, right? We want to move forward. All the energy we're creating towards the target, that's the energy we're going to be able to put to the ball. So every ounce of energy and every amount of force being applied to our bodies is what we can get into the ball. So we want to make sure it's all being directed where we want it to go. And that's where precision comes involved. You got to understand when you're following core biomechanical principles and you're trying to optimize the kinetic chain, you're going to get everything you want. You're going to get precision, health, stamina, velocity. It's all there and it comes together as you use the kinetic chain better. So if someone's telling you velocity is there but precision isn't there, precision is consistency. You're just got to get more consistent, but the precision's there. The ability to command is there. It's just you have to get more consistent where you're replicating that movement the same way. It's not just random every time, but it's all in these principles here. So you can see, Chris, you're just squatting down. The problem is now your energy is just going down. Now it's going to have to be redirected. So you'll stall out to start to redirect it forward. So you want to initially out of the gate focus on just moving forward and down because you don't want to get to a point at peak depth where you've lowered your center of mass, you put flexion in your legs to the peak point where you're ready to push and fire and use the ground. You don't want to do that with your shins straight up and down because those shin angles is where the energy is going to go when you start to drive and create power. So we've got to get those shin angles linear, and that's why we got to fall those hips forward and down the same rate. So when we hit peak depth, we're in a linear position. You're also leaning over your body. If we're going to be 3/4, even sidearm, definitely over the top, we have to get neutral to contralateral, which is glove side. If we go ipsilateral, we're going to want to drop. And even with submarine guys, I'd like to see them hold their posture to the last minute and then drop, because the problem is if we drop early, the arm wants to go early, and we want to prevent that. We want to delay the arm as long as we possibly can. So we got to get you more neutral. It's a better posture. It stabilizes the pelvis more, which is the transmission. The legs are going to create the power. The pelvis is going to move it and accelerate it up your body. So if you're not loading on that or creating that stability in your pelvis by putting your weight on it and balancing on it, then you're not going to be able to move energy up your body as well. And also too, you typically overcompensate at that point. You start leaning in and pulling across your body to bring your arm up and around. So not a lot of things go well when you're leaning inwards. You want to get your posture up. Okay, and then you get to the point right where you want to drive, right here. You can see your shin gets linear. It has to eventually, right? Right there. It's linear. That's where we would want to get the moment you hit the peak of your crouch, right? Meaning the moment when to your complete depth, the lowest you're going to go. The problem is your front foot is already open. So you've already swung your front foot open. Your glove side's starting to go. Your weight's starting to get more over your front leg than your back leg. So you're not at a point where you're ready to peak power. You've already started the process. And the only negative is your arm is reaching back. So if all this is flying forward and then this is reaching back, there's a good chance you could put your arm in drag. Let's see what happens as you go into landing. So then when we take your right to landing, okay, you can see right there very quickly you're flying open. So I'd say the moment your front foot secures down is probably right there. Okay, so you can see your trunk is already open. Your glove is tucked. Your chest is squaring up. Your arm's laying back. Even if I could go like one frame back, right there. The good news though is you pulled your arm in. And that's what happens when everything's going early. If you leave your arm back here too long, you get caught in the drag, the ball's gonna be everywhere. It's hard on your arm. So you're pulling your arm in. So if you see a lot of guys go aggressive inside 90, it's because they're early or they're aggressively rotating. For you, it's you're early, so you're pulling it in so it can keep up, so it doesn't drag way behind. That protects your arm, but it's not optimal for velocity. The optimal position for velocity would have been a better drive, and that you just kind of rolled over your back leg. So a better drive, closing off until the drive, and then delaying your trunk. So at landing here, your glove side might even be internally rotated. Your scap might even still be loaded, and your arm is up and you're turning to close. That would optimize hip to shoulder separation, which would mean you'd have peak power through your legs, and this turning against that to harness that energy and then accelerate it up as it all comes around. So let's take you to release here. Okay, so you can see the trunk barely moves. So at landing, the trunk just slightly turned, didn't really go forward. So what happened is your arm had to take over and push. So you're in that push position, because if you were an elite trunk, your trunk would have launched forward over your front leg, and your elbow would have stayed in sync with your shoulder and would have turned over and not pushed in front of your face. So the pushing is the result of poorly powered trunk. If you got more power in your trunk by delaying it, bigger drives, more hip to shoulder separation, you'd have a bigger trunk over your front leg, and your arm would want to turn over and not push in front of your face. Because then you got to release the ball out here. So if your trunk doesn't carry you to that point, you release up, then you have to push your arm out to that point. So the only way you're going to prevent that pushing is you got to get this trunk moving better, a lot more power in it. Your front leg stabilized, but it just stayed bent. Ideally, we could push that trunk back like a wave hitting the shore. That push back really dumps all that energy in your trunk over your front leg and into the ball. Remember, one of my favorite studies that says 86% of the energy going up your arm is coming from your trunk. So we've got to get more power in our trunk. And it goes back to the beginning, getting it more upright, getting more forward and down at the same rate. So the moment you're ready to peak, or you're in your peak flexion, you're ready to go into your drive, you can turn and harness against that in a more contralateral neutral position, and then all that energy explodes forward. Now, like I said, that takes a lot of work. You're going to have to really build your legs up. I would guarantee you your leg strength and power isn't at an above average athletic level or elite level. Also, too, your upper body strength, your core strength, all these things are probably not where they need to be to make this move really explosive and dynamic. Also, too, there could be some mobility challenges in there we got to do, but I can see a lot of strength and power issues coming from you. That takes time. This takes time to build up. And like I said, if you really want to do that, you got to look at a program like we do here at TopVelocity that isn't just going to put mechanics in your head. It's going to build you through a training program, through a systematic training program, showing you where you are and where you need to be. And as you evaluate that process so you can get to these elite levels, if we're going to expect your body to move like an elite pitcher. If that's something you're looking into, you want to take time off to do this, guys. You can't do this in season. You can't do this a couple weeks before season. This is where you take a season off. You take a summer off. You take a fall off, and you put the work in 2, 3, 4 months of work. That's where we get the best results. We get the 15, 20 mile an hour jumps from guys coming from these amateur levels like this. And it's significant, so significant, you go back into your season and now you're one of the best players on the team. You're one of the hardest throwers on the team. You're one of the healthiest players. You got the most endurance on the team, and everybody's wondering what you did. And that's what ideally you're primed for, and it would be so beneficial to you. If you want to learn more, we got a live and train model here, meaning like you can live in the dorms and train over here. The summers are big. That's when guys come down and live and train. They put their summers into this. they make those big gains, and it really helps them going into their fall season. But check it out, TopVelocity.net. You can learn more about it. I hope that helps you, man. Like I said, I think a lot of people could learn from that. If you have any questions and you want to post them, send them to me or put them in the comments below. And if anyone out there wants their video on, send it to info@TopVelocity.net. We'll break it down. We'll learn from you. We'll see how your body moves a little bit different than the next guy, and we'll all just keep learning. So I appreciate you watching. See you on the next episode.